Hello everyone, Sire here. I am working on my second card using Scrapping for Less's October 2020 card kit. Um, to start off, I just wanted to show you the beautiful paper that came in this collection. I think this is collection number 2. And I just really loved it. So it was hard to pick which one I wanted to work with, but the one that I'm cutting now, which has this kind of water color effect with some white stars on it, really drew me. And immediately my mind started thinking of a scenic card. So I cut that down into probably 4 by 5 1/4. And then I took a piece of that dark navy cardstock and I think it's like night shift blue or something like that. And I cut that down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So that's the base of the card. I am going to make a scenic card with this, with of course snowbanks. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't, honestly, I don't know why I cut the paper diagonally like that. I think it was because it wasn't long enough and I wanted to make it go all the way across. I think that's the only thing I could think of. I'm doing a voiceover and I honestly cannot remember why I did that. So um, I did cut all of that out because it took a while of me fiddling around gluing that down. Anyways, I always create two snow mounds just to create a little bit of depth. And you could have used foam tape to prop up one of them so that you get even more depth, but I glue both of them down. Um, and then I'm just going to snip away anything that's overhanging. Once again, I'm not sure why I made my snow mounds this way, but nonetheless, they turn out pretty good. And what I will do is, because I didn't use any foam tape, I still want to create a little bit of separation between the two. So I'm going to get my Spectrum Noir gray gray range colors and use BG1 and I believe it's BG2. And all you do is you just add a little bit of light shading just around where the two meet, just so that it creates a visual separation. If you're really good with alcohol markers, you could have added shading to the front of the snow mountain as well, because obviously they would also be separated from each other. It's not just the front layer and the back layer. But I am going to keep this nice and simple and just add a little bit of gray alcohol marker color to the snow mountain layer in the back. And there you go. That's nice and easy. Okay, so for this card, I did use another die that I just purchased from Simon Says Stamps, and it's a Christmas tree one, and you can see them right there. So it comes in two shapes and a shadow, and I cut it out, and I'm just putting them down so that I can glue them back on. And I can add a link to this in the description if I remember, to show you which one I bought. If you do not have a die like this, and I normally wouldn't, I would have just cut out them with a pair of scissors. I would have just cut out a triangle, add a little stump, and it would have done the exact same thing. However, I wanted to try this new stamp that I purchased, and it's going to just create a slightly different effect because I'm actually not going to keep the outline. I'm only using that so that I know where to glue them back into place. So these trees will actually have kind of a separation, kind of like, oh, what's his name? I can't remember. A Dr. Seuss, there we go. A kind of like a Dr. Seuss effect. Just whimsical, weird, interesting, fun. And so I really like the outcome. But like I said, if you don't have this stamp, and if it's sold out or whatever, you could just create regular triangles, and that's what I would have always done if I had not this stamp or this die. So I'm just showing you what I've done. Of course, it's a little tight, so I will have to glue this one down. All you would need to do is either, if it doesn't stick, you can just let it sit for just a tiny bit longer so that it would have stuck to the paper. The reason that one didn't stick as much is just because it is double layer. So it probably didn't adhere as much because of that. And when I say double layer, I mean it's on the snow mount and the paper, so there's that little bit of separation. So it takes a little bit longer to adhere, especially if you don't use enough glue. I'm just going to show you one more time how I did this. You just take the little pieces and glue them, and you just put them back into their spots. And then when that's done, I used a picker. Almost looks like a dental pick. It's a weeding pick, I believe. And then you just pull it off the paper and slowly make sure that you don't pull up the other pieces. Like that. And then you get this fun looking tree effect. So I'm going to fast forward this. And that's what the final looks like. Once again, just being very careful not to lift that up. And there we go. We get some fun little trees, just creating a little bit of space. It was something different, and I really liked it. And I did use the fancy papers in this collection. Like I said, it's really nice. And I just wanted to use the different patterns. But so that it wasn't too busy, I also created 2 trees using that night shift blue, and that ties it into the border or the background that I used. So it's really working well with all the different shades of blues and subtle patterns. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut out a piece of that night shift blue cardstock again, and I'm going to stamp it with my sentiment. Just pulling out a piece of scrap paper because I am going to heat emboss that. And the sentiment that I decide to use is Peace on Earth. And this is on the stamp set for collection 2, but it works so well. When you have a beautiful scenery like this, where it's blue, you can kind of get the feeling that it's becoming nighttime. It's quieting, it's snowing. You know, that twilight moment. I don't know if it's twilight, but yes, that's the type of scenic. That's the type of view you kind of, or the feel you kind of get. And so Peace on Earth is definitely what fits perfectly for me because one, it's that time of day and that type of feel. I'm always at calmness. And so that's how I felt. And so what I'm going to use is this blue embossing powder that I got. I believe I got this from Scrapping for Less a long time ago. I believe it was one when it was All About the Boys. I think that was the name of it. And so I just heat set that, and now I'm just trying to figure out how I want to place it. I am a huge fan of single line sentiments because you can just fit them right across, and they're usually small and stuff. When they're double lines, they do take up more space, so they're a little bit harder to position when you're doing it this way. However, it didn't turn out too bad. I just kept trimming it away, putting it back on, seeing what I thought. I like this part with the little half circle, but I decided to trim that down. Like right there, it looks pretty nice, but I decided just to trim it down, keep it a square, and I'm just going to leave the slightest little border so it's not flush against the pattern paper there. And I'm just slowly trimming it. I think that's my OCD, just knocking out any imperfections that no one will even see anyways. It's only because I'm up close and making it. Next, I am just going to adhere this on before I start adding all the bells and whistles. So I'm just going to use my double-sided tape. This will make it so that it will be nice and secure, but you definitely need to make sure you don't make a mistake because it will be very hard to take it off. I have some of this chunky glitter from Rangers that I've had for a bit, and it's perfect for winter. It reminds me of the sugar coatings that you put on cookies. It's just really chunky. So I'm going to take my Simon Says glue and I'm just going to add it on the top of all the snow mounds. And this just creates a nice little, like if the moon is shining on the crystal snow in certain areas when it gets really cold. Definitely not where I'm moving now, but when you do get snow and it freezes, it gets a little bit warm in the sun, and then all of a sudden it freezes overnight. You get that crystal effect, and when the moon shines on it, it's just beautiful. It's something I definitely miss about winter. And so that's what that effect does, and I love it. So you just add a little bit of glitter um, to the glue. You could have pressed the glue down if you wanted to. I just left it. It dried fine. It didn't come out or anything, but definitely a little nice little touch you can add to the snow mounds. I'm now going to add the sentiment. And once again, I will put it very close to the corner, but leaving the slightest little separation. So you get that little layer separation there. You definitely could have put it all the way, obviously the glue didn't stick, but you can definitely put it all the way to the very corner. That looks really nice too, but I decided to just try it this way and put my acrylic block on because I want to make sure that it actually adheres this time. Okay, so now for the bells and whistles. I am going to take some of the sequins that came in the card kit, and they're like pearlescent, and they have stars and the regular sequin. And I'm just going to decorate those dark blue ones. I don't need to decorate, in my opinion, the other pattern stars or trees, and that's because they already have the patterns on them. So I didn't feel I needed to add any sequins to those. But the dark blue ones were missing something, so I just wanted to add a star to the top and then add some sequins to the base or to the tree, kind of like if it's decorations. And of course, it's giving that effect that the moon is shining down and the trees are just glistening with these little decorations on there. And I'm just using my jewel picker to pick them up and place them down. It works really well. This actually came from Simon Says stamps. I believe it was one of the card kits that it came with. And it works really well. Okay, once that is done, I am going to continue on adding more bells and whistles to this card. Okay, so now I am going to take some Glossy Accents and I'm going to fill in each of these trees. I am going to do a heavy load of the Glossy Accents just to make sure that you get a full coverage. It actually is not too bad. Like I did overflow a couple times, but it does pretty much work well with following the paper and doesn't go over. I find that if I do go over, it's because I just went a little too far, but the Glossy Accents is pretty good at following the cut line so it doesn't flow over too much. But if it does, I just take a pick and I just kind of clean it up. But I have to just be careful if you do use a pick like that because you can scratch the paper and wreck it, especially if it gets wet. I will not be adding it to the blue trees, the dark blue ones. Instead, I will grab my shimmer pen. This is the Spectrum shimmer pen, and I will just fill it in or painting it on. This creates a really beautiful shimmer when you move the paper. It will just sparkle like nothing. it will look really nice. And I will move it up close to the camera and see if we can see it, but I may not be able to. Okay, once that is done, I am finished. A really beautiful nighttime card, Peace on Earth. I really love this. It turned out really well. And once again, you don't need this die. You can just cut the trees out with a pair of scissors. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this card. I had a lot of fun making it. When it comes to Christmas cards, you can go all out. Just add the glitter, add the shimmer, add sequins, do whatever. It really is hard to wreck a card when it's using all these things for Christmas. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope it creates some inspiration. So until next time, have yourself a wonderful day and take care. Bye.